Today's talk post, I'm going to discuss about the project initiation context. So let us start. So what actually is project initiation context? So normally organizational leaders or project managers, they normally initiate the projects due to the responses that they are getting in from the various sectors uh, within the organization or outside from the organization. There are basically four fundamental categories with respect to these factors. The first one is actually meeting regulatory, legal, or some kind of a social requirement that actually initiate or which actually requires you to initiate a project, right? And then there's something which is actually coming from your stakeholders of your organization. These stakeholders could be your internal stakeholders or external stakeholders. Uh, they will be actually putting their request or need, and those requests or the need is actually going to act as a project initiation context. Another thing is like you need to implement or change any kind of business or technological strategies with respect to your projects, and that also actually kickstart another project uh, and act as a project initiation context. Another thing is like sometimes you have already running products in the markets, processes that are actually or that are actually uh, running, or the services that are being actually rendered across your organization or through your organization to some other organization, and those require improvement, or you need to create brand new ones. So in that context, you need to initiate more projects. So these are the basic four fundamental categories due to which you need to create the project or project initiation context is made. So these factors influence an organization ongoing operations and business strategies, and normally leaders respond to these factors in order to keep the organization viable as much as possible. Projects provide the means for organization to successfully make the changes necessary to detail with these factors, and these factors ultimately should link to strategic behaviors or objectives of the organization and the business value for each project. So there are specific factors which are actually which actually influence the organization's operations and the business strategy. So these specific factors are like number one is actually new technologies, and you can actually take an example like there's an electronic firm, and it authorizes a new project to develop a faster, cheaper, and a smaller laptops based on advances in the computer memory and electronics technology. And then there are competitive forces that are actually in the market, and you can actually have an example for this one, like by lowering a price on a product by a competitor, and which results in the need to lower a production cost to remain competitive. Then there are material issues. uh, for example, a municipal bridge developed cracks in some support members, resulting in a project to fix those problems. And then there could be political changes, like, for example, a newly elected official instigating project funding changes to a current project. And then there's all obviously economic changes. For example, an economic downturn results in a change in the priorities of a for a current project. So for example, like uh, like in past 10 years, 10 years ago, there was a recession in the market, and due to that many projects were actually closed. Then there are customer requests. For example, an electric utility authorizes a project to build a substation to serve a new industrial park. Then there are stakeholders demands. For example, a stakeholder requires that a new output be produced by the organization. uh, then there are legal requirements. For example, a chemical manufacturer authorizes a project to establish guidelines for the proper handling of a new toxic material. So then moving further, there are like business process improvements. For example, an organization implements a project resulting from a lean Six Sigma value stream mapping exercise. And then there are strategic opportunity or a business need. For example, a training company authorizes a project to create a new course to increase its revenue. Then there is obviously a social need, like for example, any non-governmental organization in a developing country authorizes a project to provide a portable water systems, latrines, and sanitation education to communities suffering from high rates of infectious disease. Uh, then there are environmental considerations. For example, a public company authorizes a project to create a new service for electric car sharing to reduce